This is Showtime, and here's what's coming next.
It's more than exercise, it's fun. Stay in shape with Showtime and Aerobicise. Fitness never looked or felt so good.
All eyes turn for Showtime, with programming variety from innovative original shows to whatever you want in movies. In April, our original series lineup has a proud new addition.
We're sitting on a gold mine here.
Join us for all new episodes of the show that was too good for commercial television, The Paper Chase, the second year exclusively on Showtime. Broadway on Showtime presents the finest that the stage can offer. And this month we present Tony Award winner Ben Vereen in the Broadway showstopper Pippin. Catch the world's greatest performers on Showtime Music Specials. In April, see Cher in a celebration at Caesars. And our Showtime comedy specials continue with Miss Pat Collins, the hip hypnotist, and her all-new 20th anniversary show. Blockbuster movies are a big part of our exciting lineup. In April, share the adventure with Conan the Barbarian. And Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. We've got movies for every member of the family with Showtime Family Features. Critics' Choice with the films that the critics love to rave about. Film Classics with the greatest films from a golden era. And movies specially reserved for after hours. In April, entertainment and variety make all eyes turn for Showtime.
Showtime made television history last year when they commissioned new episodes of a TV series that had left the network some 3 years ago. Now, but this was no ordinary TV series. In fact, it has no ordinary TV star. An American institution in the theater. A producer, a director, a writer, an actor, yes, a personality. What a personality.
What is the meaning of the term assumptive?
I don't know.
Are you in the habit of using words whose meaning you do not comprehend?
No, sir.
There are many words which you don't know, Miss Lehman. Do you expect me to define them all for you here, personally, in this class?
No, sir.
You are expected to track down these strange words, these new concepts. This is a difficult class, Miss Lehman, and you must fully prepare for it. Do you consider yourself prepared today?
No, sir.
You are unprepared, unable to answer the most simple questions. Miss Lehman, there is one thing I do not understand. Why are you smiling?
John Houseman is Professor Charles Kingfield. He stars as Showtime presents Paper Chase, the second year. And when I was writing the introduction, sir, I wondered, at what age did people begin calling you distinguished? When does that occur?
Well, there's a whole sequence. It's distinguished, and then it's veteran, and then it's octogenarian, and then I don't know what comes after that.
We'll look forward...
Senile.
We'll look forward to it, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. When Paper Chase was canceled, surely there was no thought in your mind it would ever live again.
It didn't look that way. It didn't look that way. I was not shocked beyond words by the cancellation. I'd lived through a lot of these I'd lived through the cancellation of Playhouse 90, and as a rule, they go and get buried honorably, and then something else comes up. I did not think that this would happen. I was very happy when it did, and went on public television, and did as well as it did on public television. But there again, I thought that was the end, except for ultimate syndication. Then this came up, and I was overjoyed. It seems we are immortal.
It seems you are very, very good, certainly. And when we look back, Paper Chase was originally a motion picture.
That's right.
And if I'm correct, you had the part because James Mason was busy?
Yes, in part. He was to have played the role. Then he was held up in Spain. It was also because the director happened to be a former stage manager of mine and a friend of mine, and after he missed the main people, such as Mason and Eddie Robinson people, then he suddenly got obstinate and decided it was to be me. And I discouraged the notion on the grounds that the studio would not countenance it. And finally, either because he remained obstinate or because he really had failed to find anyone, we agreed that I'd go up to Canada, where he was shooting the picture, and make a test. And the test turned out very well. In fact, we used a little of it in the picture. And so that was it.
And you had acted one time before in your life on film?
Yes, I'd done a very good film, very small part in a very good film called 7 Days in May, The Treasonous Admiral.
I read that you showed Paper Chase, the film, to your drama students at Juilliard, and they weren't surprised at all. They said, John Houseman is not acting.
Well, they were being malicious. They were taking revenge for all the critiques I'd done of them over the years.
Many people do not know that you were foreign-born, born in Romania, and yet that before acting and the theater became your life, you were also a merchant prince in South America.
Well, no, I was a merchant prince. I visited South America as sort of in my apprenticeship, and I did spend 2 years there, but
Yes.
I became a merchant prince in London and in New York.
And that come the crash, the company suddenly was no more,
That's right.
and then once again it was the theater.
Not once again, for the first time it was the theater.
But you had worked in the theater and you knew
No,
the theater.
I had a lot of friends in the theater, and I was married to an actress, and I'd been around the theater, but I'd never worked professionally at all.
When I look at a 2-volume autobiography, soon to be a 3-volume, three come August, and 900 pages so far.
No.
Yes, sir.
Oh, more than that.
In the first 2 books, though, 900.
More than that.
I didn't count correctly. I stand
A
corrected.
little more than that.
Excuse me.
And now it's another 600, I'm afraid.
Tell me, how did you know it was going to be 3 volumes, or did you just start out?
I didn't. I started, and then I had a very dear friend who was the editor at Simon & Schuster, and he encouraged me to do this. And then one day, one terrible day, I had lunch with him at the Century, and I said, in case you're interested, this is going to be not 1 volume, but certainly 2. And he grew a little pale at that, and he said, what makes you think that your life is worth more than 1 volume?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't think that, but I don't know any other way to do it. So it grew as we went along.
It did indeed. If I pick a few moments from your autobiography, I read the busiest, happiest, and proudest moments of my life were spent in something called the Negro Theater Project. Can you tell us what that was?
Well, that was, on many levels, a fascinating experience. That was the Negro unit of the Federal Theater of the WPA, which, as you know, was created under Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Harry Hopkins in the mid-30s, when the Depression was at its worst. And it was fascinating, both as a social phenomenon and also artistically. What do you do with 800 people? What kind of plays do you produce? You want to have some artistic merits, and you also want to make a kind of theater that is of use and of interest in the community. And we succeeded. We actually cut the theater into 2 parts, and one half of the theater was doing black plays on black subjects, written by blacks, directed by blacks, acted by blacks, and very much relating to the problems of the community. With the other half, we did the classics, and we did one very famous production of Macbeth, which was directed by Orson Welles, and used voodoo to translate the supernatural parts of Macbeth, which usually are so troublesome and ineffective, and in this case worked marvelously.
Very, very well. In your writings, you refer to a longtime collaborator and associate as Maestro, the dog-faced boy. You were speaking of Orson Welles in that letter.
Monstro, not Maestro. Monstro.
Excuse me, Monstro, the dog-faced boy, was Orson Welles to you at times.
Yeah. Well, yeah, this was affection and what one calls one's partner when one is upset with him.
Your relationship with Orson Welles was one of enormous peaks and valleys. Is that fair?
Yes, well, it was a very close theatrical partnership. He was very young. He was 19 when we started. I was fairly young. I was about 10 years older. And we were both making our beginnings in the American theater, and we did all kinds of crazy things and a lot of very wonderful things.
Years later, when you see Orson Welles, as we all do, and you know the tremendous potential and the excitement the man once generated, what do you think of him now when you see him on television almost as a charade?
I don't know that he's a charade, but you know, everybody lives their life the way they feel they want to, and I think that's true of Orson. I'm sorry that he doesn't continue to create as actively as he did, but there is a picture which I believe is going to come out shortly, which has wonderful things in it. Mm-hmm. He's a very great man.
But you've done many, many things for many, many years. There was no one Citizen Kane, your epic or your peak. Aren't you grateful for that fact that you've continued to...
Well, I wasn't a genius, and the kind of question you ask is asked only of geniuses.
I stand corrected. In your autobiography, you name names, and one quote that I particularly liked: Joan Fontaine has graciously testified that she found me a satisfying lover. I take this opportunity to return the compliment. She was an adorable mistress. Did Miss Fontaine think highly of your inclusion of her in the autobiography?
She was not displeased.
She was not displeased.
And she retaliated by being quite nice in hers.
Were some ladies or lovers disappointed that they weren't mentioned in your book?
I have no idea. I didn't ask them.
I thought you might have corresponded with some.
No, you mean, did they write letters, you son of a bitch? Why didn't you mention me?
Yes.
No, I got no such letter.
Would you once have sneered as a professional at other professionals making celebrity endorsements?
No. Well, you know, it wasn't very prevalent. I would have sneered if friends of mine were selling toilet paper, but not many successful actors were doing endorsements. I know that many of our actors in the various companies that I've had were making a living doing commercials, and I always thought that was a very good thing for them.
And now suddenly some experts and advertising agencies say that you are the second most trusted man in America next to Walter Cronkite.
Well, that was 2 years ago. I may have lost that. I don't know.
You're still working very, very much.
Still working.
Does it surprise you to have this, I read, incredible amount of money coming in from commercials all of a sudden?
It surprises me and pleases me.
Will we continue to see your efforts in those areas?
If the right commercials come along, I still do Smith Barney, and I still work Procter & Gamble. I was doing too many last year. That was sort of accidentally, just happened. But to be doing 2 big ones is enough.
The actual line, they earned it. Who wrote that, or did you...
Oh, the Smith Barney, the agency, Ogilvy Mather. They worked very hard on those, and they devised this whole formula, which was new to Smith Barney. They'd never advertised in their lives, and this was the first time, and it worked very well, I believe.
It worked very, very well. And in fact, you use them as your brokers occasionally, too. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your days in early television, is the medium living up to its potential?
I wouldn't say so, no. I think we had very high hopes. Also, it was a new field, and I think we had high hopes that technically, artistically, things would happen, which have not happened. Television has not progressed technically 1 inch in 30 years. I'm talking of dramatic television. No new ways of telling stories have been devised, no new visual methods of holding an audience have been devised. Everybody's been too goddamn busy getting ratings to think about the artistic improvements of the medium.
Do you see that cable might help television achieve some of its potential?
I hope so. Certainly it will increase with added outlets. There's every reason to suppose that there will be a greater variety and a greater specialization in audiences. And the minute that happens, the minute you're no longer concerned exclusively with the major ratings, I think you have a chance to do some interesting things.
To grow, to develop?
To develop and grow and take chances. That's what we all hope.
In your career, certainly one of the greatest rewards was an Oscar for acting in The Paper Chase, your second time as an actor. What did you think of the competition going into the Oscar ceremonies?
They were all friends of mine. I didn't think very much. The whole thing was so startling and surprising that I really didn't do much thinking. I was sort of bewildered.
In fact, your films have won 7, 8, how many Oscars?
Not for me. I've only won one as an actor, but as a producer, my films I produced, I think the total number is about 11 for different things.
And more than 20-some nominations.
That's right.
A very good record.
Well, at one time I was making very good pictures.
What about the young people, thousands of them around the country, who want to be a movie star?
They're just dumb if they want to be a movie star. If they want to be an actor, they're not dumb. And if they want to be an actor, they're not dumb. And if they prepare and train for it, the young actor today has a very good chance of making a very nice living, a very decent, interesting, and honorable living. But just to yearn to be a movie star is idiotic.
Very, very well said. Thank you, Mr. Houseman. You're invited, you're urged to watch The Paper Chase, the second year, right here on Showtime. Today, a visit with the star, an American institution, but a human with an exciting and fascinating record. We hope you enjoyed this visit of achievement, friends, and famous foibles. Bill Harris, almost in Hollywood, at the Malibu home of John Houseman. And we'll talk again.
For movies in April, all eyes turn for Showtime. Whatever you want in movies, you'll find it on Showtime. From the biggest blockbusters to family features, from critics' favorites to screen classics, plus movies after hours. We take you into action with world box office blockbusters like Star Trek II,
Shoot the laughing, Captain.
The Wrath of Khan, compelling drama with I'm Dancing as Fast as I Can, and spectacular fantasy adventure with Conan the Barbarian.
What daring!
Showtime's family features include great movies like The Mountain Family Robinson. Some of the world's most highly acclaimed films are on Showtime's Critics' Choice, like the Oscar-winning Mephisto. And our movie classics bring you some of the best from Hollywood's golden era, like The Great Sinner. And some movies are reserved for you after hours. All the kinds of movies you want, when you want. For the greatest movie variety in April, all eyes turn for Showtime.
Warning. The following program depicts exercises which, depending upon your physical condition, may be hazardous to your health. You are therefore warned not to attempt any of these exercises without consulting your doctor. Even with such approval, each exercise should be done in moderation and should not be performed if tired or to the point of fatigue or pain. Do not overexert yourself.